join. Hello.
Hey there.
Hey, is my camera not on?
Not seeing you just yet, and I'm trying to get us in the there we go. I can't see you, but I've got the panel set up the way that I like it. Hey everybody that's hopping on. Hey. This is Thought Snob Live, my weekly show where we talk about non-traditional topics and out of the ordinary ways of living. And today I'm going to have a guest. She's here. She's just getting her camera turned on. Her name is Mary. We're going to be talking about several things, and one of those things is helping kids transition from school to the holiday and from the holidays back to school with a focus on ADHD. And this topic also will resonate with a lot of adults too. But I also want to talk about the TikTok ban. I have some information about that. And I also want to talk about, hey, Mary. And I also want to talk about Jamie Foxx's new special on Netflix, which I watched last night.
Oh,
So
cool.
I
I
have,
can't wait to hear about both. I can't wait
yes.
to hear about both. Yeah. So, yeah, what's the TikTok thing?
Well, as everybody's hopping on, if you guys will like this just keep tapping that screen, show us some love so TikTok will push this out as much as possible. We're going to be talking about a lot of stuff today. Um, the TikTok ban, the rumors have been flying around for like a really long time.
Mm.
And supposedly January the 19th is the day that the ban is going to take effect. And I have no idea what that's going to look like. But what I want to tell you from my perspective as a as an influencer, I have been getting more emails and invitations from TikTok than I ever have. And I actually have a meeting set up with this guy. I've got the email pulled up right here named Martin Wong. I have a meeting set up with him on December the 16th. And I've been invited to the TikTok Live multi guest creator program. I have been invited to do all this stuff through TikTok Shop as a creator, as a seller. It's all kinds of stuff going on. And I'm thinking, why are they pushing all of these new options if there's going to be a ban? It doesn't make any sense to me. Of course, the ban doesn't make any sense to me anyway. It's like,
No, maybe they're wanting people, maybe they're hoping people will stay. A girlfriend of mine who's in South Africa said, I was saying something about you to her, and I was like, yeah, she's got a big following. She's always on there. I don't know what's going to happen for her. And she said that you would probably use something like everybody else does who's outside the country to get in on TikTok, but I don't know what that is. I have to look it up for you.
and
Okay.
I've heard that too. Like
Okay.
you would just access it from something
Different.
else. And I'm not real sure. I've heard that.
Hmm.
That TikTok will still be accessible. I just don't understand how.
I don't either, but also you think about, okay, well, first of all, trying to keep us all from doing something feels like not America.
Yeah.
Let's just say that. And it also is like, how is it even possible to
Hmm.
monitor that many millions of people who are on and using it and, well, enjoying themselves and not doing anything wrong? So,
Right. And then, okay. And on that note, I got this email saying that TikTok Shop did $1 billion in sales on Black Friday.
oh my God, where's the money? Let's see it, right? We all like some.
Yeah, it's like how are they going to go through with a ban when there's so much money being made from this app and the jobs and the stores that people have set up through TikTok Shop. I mean TikTok Shop. I mean people depend on TikTok for their money. I mean it's like a job. It's a legit revenue source.
Yeah.
And I have been bombarded with emails from TikTok, and I'm thinking, what's going on? Because it sounds to me like they're not going anywhere. It sounds to me like they're expanding.
Right. I know. Yeah. And I've been getting a lot of stuff too. So, hey, can you give me a second?
Sure, yeah, I'll talk to everybody who's joined us so far and let them know what's up.
I think
Hey,
Rebecca's
everybody.
coming on too. I think Rebecca's going to stop by, she said.
I think she's going to stop by. Yeah, I haven't seen her yet. I'm looking for her. It's what is it, 2:04?
Uh-huh.
So I'm looking for her.
Okay.
Um,
I'll be right back. Hold on.
okay. Hey, everybody.
Hey, hon.
Thanks for joining. This is Thought Snob Live. This is my weekly show. Hey there, Tanya. I'm glad you're here, my friend. This is my weekly show where we talk about non traditional topics and out of the ordinary ways of living. And while I've got you here, if you've never seen me before, my name is Paula Swope. I'm a Chopra certified life coach, meditation instructor. I'm a specialist in Ayurveda. I'm a self help author. I launched my first book, Thought Snob, The Modern Spiritual Playbook for a Better Life, back in August. It's available on Amazon in 3 formats. And in case you don't know this, I am doing a $1,000 cash giveaway. Okay. And the way that you enter to win the $1,000 is you purchase a copy of my book and then you leave an Amazon review. My goal is to get 10,000 Amazon reviews by Christmas Eve. If I get those by Christmas Eve, then I'm going to randomly select a winner on Christmas Day. The winner will be announced at 1 p.m. and then they will get their $1,000 in cash. No strings attached. You can spend it however you want to spend it. This competition is so that I can get some Amazon reviews. I should have thousands of Amazon reviews. And so I'm hoping that this gives people an incentive to leave a review. Now, there's a little bit of a catch. If I don't reach the 10,000 reviews on Christmas Eve, I'm going to hold off on selecting a winner until I do get 10,000 reviews, okay? And after I get 10,000 reviews, then I'll just start the competition all over again and you'll have another chance to win $1,000 and maybe possibly more. So, Thought Snob, The Modern Spiritual Playbook for a Better Life. Go to Amazon, purchase a copy, leave a review, and you're automatically entered to win. If I get 10,000 reviews by Christmas Eve, I will select a winner, announce them Christmas Day, and you will have your $1,000 on Christmas Day. My promise.
You're going to start a trend. You're going to start a trend, girl.
I hope so. I hope so.
Love it. Love it. That's a great marketing tool.
Well, I started looking into authors who have tons of reviews on Amazon, and all of them have done these competitions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All
And I
right.
thought, okay, well, maybe if I launch it at Christmas time or around Christmas time, and I offer a good sized cash, award, that people will be motivated to leave a review. It's like I got to take matters into my own hands.
Oh, girl, all right. I'm going to have to try that because my box set just came out for my children's trilogy.
Oh, that's
So
right. You want to talk about that for a minute? Tell everybody about that. Welcome, everybody.
yeah, welcome everybody. I'm so excited to be back here today with you. So yeah, so it's there are 3 books in the trilogy. It's Perfectly Me, The Wonder of Me. No, Look at Me and Oh, the Wonder of Me. Yes. And they were inspired by my son. He came very late in life and had some challenges. He still does. And so the books are about, really teaching children how to accept who they are. They're really amazing just the way they are. And they have I am pages in them. So that positive language can get started very early in life. And you can do it as a family. The books have a large font. So like first readers, siblings can read to each other, and they go from like newborn, because with my kiddos, even though they couldn't see, because babies can't see when they're first born, I would still put the book in front of them, hold them, and like turn those pages, and as they could start to see, they could hear my voice talking to them. So it would start to get them to be used to and loving literacy and the tone of like reading a story and those colors and the pages and everything. So my kids love books, and I think it's a very important thing to do starting out very early. And it's a great way. It's a bonding. It's a very it's very spiritual sacred time to have with your child, whether you're the parent, the caregiver, a sibling, whoever you are. But yeah, so this is a passion thing, a passion project. And the first book has 10 songs in it. My girls recorded the music. And so yeah, my publisher just put it in a box set, and it's ebook and paper.
That's fabulous. And it's available everywhere, right?
Everywhere, yes, and it's Mary with Jackson, and it's called the Inspired Kid Series. So I love it. I love it because of how it came. It was just downloaded. It was like one of those things that when things like that happen, they're supposed to be out there in the world. They don't just come sometimes to just sit on your shelf. They come because you need to share them with others.
Yep. That's right. That's right. Because if you don't act on, it's a burning desire. It's like when you have that and you act on it, it is like a download because it just flows. You're in the flow. And I think it's fabulous what you're doing because unfortunately, the way that society is designed, it's not as though that our youth population is always taught the right way to think. Mm-hmm. And I think it's just absolutely fabulous what you're doing. And I love it. I love it.
Empower our kids because, so many kids don't learn to believe in themselves until they know how to believe in themselves. So if we help them, because we teach them by saying those words to them, like, hey, I know you can do this and you're amazing and you got this. And even if this is tough, come on, let's get back up and do this again. Don't give up. And we have to pour into them till they can believe for themselves.
That's right.
Part of our job as a parent,
That's right. Yep. And on that note, while I'm not sure if Rebecca is coming on or not, but I'll keep an eye out for her. If you want to kick off our conversation, I'm sure it's going to take 50,000 different directions, but if you want to kick off our conversation about the main topic for today with helping kids to transition from school to the holiday and then from the holiday back to school. And then we're also going to talk about how having ADHD can make that more complicated, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
And I'll say this, when you mentioned this topic, I started thinking back to when I was, K through 12. And I hated high school so bad. I really, truly hated it. And I would look so forward to being off for the Christmas holiday. But as I got closer to going back to school, I would just get this, it's like a gloom and doom, dread that would just come over me. Oh my God, I hated it. And the anxiety of the first day back, I hated it. I will never forget that feeling. No.
I'm sorry. And that's something my son goes through. So really? What you're talking about, absolutely. And I think both my girls did too, when they were younger. They're both in college now in grad school and undergrad, but my son is in middle. And so he still goes through this. This morning, he even said to me, Mom, I like doing homework at home because it's quieter. And that is because that ADHD brain is so easily distracted and it needs that peace and calm in order to help focus better, And I brought, I messaged you and we talked about this topic, and I had somebody last week. She is on the spectrum. She also has her own podcast and everything. She's an author. Mm-hmm. And she had asked me a while back to do a 15-minute recording on a subject, and actually I think it went out Sunday, and so I recorded it last week for her, and the talk was about this transitioning from the holidays that's at school, that's very structured, to the less structured, more stress at home during the holidays, and how do we do this successfully? Because it's also stressful for the parents, right? You have a routine, go to work, you pick your kids up at aftercare or after school, come home, homework, dinner, bath, go to bed, blah. It's hit and repeat every day, right?
Right.
And whatever your kids' age are, even if they're in middle and high school. So then either you continue working and you have somebody taking care of your kids, or maybe you have to take off during those times during the holidays. So, and then you have all the added stress, shopping and family get-togethers that can be stressful, and food, and gift buying, and wrapping, and whatever it happens for you and your family. All of it is extra and can add to stress for everyone. And when you think about how we feel, and just think about, okay, our little beings that are running around, they feel the same thing that we do, but sometimes this is more magnified because they don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to manage it like we do. They also don't know. They also have not desensitized themselves like we have. So we can just kind of roll with the punches every day, right? We learn how to do that. So I did a 15-minute video talk about that, but I've also written an article that went out in a magazine, I think last month or the month. Yeah, it was last month. And so, there are ways for us to be able to transition with our kids, whether they are on the spectrum or they have disabilities or challenges or sensory issues or ADHD. And part of that is, having a routine at home for your kiddos, and it's not being a free for all. Now they do need to relax and decompress from those hard, very rigid schedules, but kids really thrive in schedules. Even though they may buck the system, if you want to call it, they also really thrive knowing what's coming next. That's something I have used with my kids, is telling them what's coming next, because that has seemed to work with transitioning. Like we have, and my 24-year-old will still say to me, Mom, what's the plan for today? That she's home for the holidays or whatever. Okay, what are we doing today, Mom? So those kind of things really work if you can create a schedule at home for the holidays to match or run along the lines of even what's happening when they're away from you. That's going to ease that transition, and it not be like, we got all this going on, now we have nothing. And it's like, what do we do? So that way your kids don't end up getting bored. They don't end up being on the electronics the entire time they're home, and they don't get oversensory, and then they are melting down and falling apart, which behavior is communication. If the child is overreacting or acting out or something, and you find out why they're doing it. So at school, or say you're at the grocery store and there's a child melting down, and a lot of people look at it, that kid has terrible behavior. What's wrong with his parents, right? Well, a lot of times it's not bad behavior, it's that they're overwhelmed. And maybe they're tired and they've missed their nap and they need something to eat, or they just need to get out of that environment that is too much for them, So what I have done at home is provided, we have a schedule as best that we can, try to have some of that same routine going on so kids know what's coming, and also balance it with relaxation and quiet time. Having that balance is very important, I believe.
So keeping with some type of structure, that's what really stands out to me. I'll be honest, when I was growing up, the structure just went to hell in a handbasket.
Right.
That Christmas break started. It was done. It's like I was never going back to school. And I have, with my two stepkids, of course, my stepson is now 19, and it's we're not in an joint custody situation with him anymore, but my stepdaughter is 14, and so she's with us during the Christmas holiday. And I don't really keep, there's no structure. Now she doesn't have ADHD, and she's way more, she's very well adjusted. I mean, especially in comparison to the way I was at 14. But she's being raised better than I was, to be quite frank. But she there's no structure at all. I mean, like 2 or 3 nights before school's going to go back, she'll get back to her regular sleep schedule, but she struggles. She can't go to sleep.
Right.
And she's had a problem with that, and insomnia in the past. And right. So yeah, the structure, that's what really stood out to me most. And then because I don't have ADHD. My husband is diagnosed with ADHD. and I need to be more educated and more aware about how their brains work, because obviously it's different. It's different. So when a person with ADHD has anxiety, what does that look like for them? Do they realize, this might be I don't know how to ask this. Do they realize that they have anxiety?
I don't think so. I think they do if they have been educated about it. Like if they're maybe depending on the age of a person, right? Whatever kind of doctor they've gone to, whether it is the pediatrician or your primary care or a neurologist or a psychologist, that probably would be explained to them so that they understand, hey, typically along with ADHD and autism and things like that, anxiety and depression really go hand in hand with all of that. But if you're undiagnosed, you're not going to know. And even people who maybe have been diagnosed, they're not like they just haven't learned about it, right? So in that instance, whether children are pretty much out of control with their emotions, period, right? They're learning all the time as they're growing. How do I manage myself? How do I manage myself? I wish this kind of stuff was taught in school from the
Oh
very
my
beginning.
God. I know. I just don't understand why it isn't, but okay.
I don't understand why it's not. I've been working with some people. We're trying to implement some kind of academic intervention where I live that would be in the school system, right? So my son is 11 now, and he's had a couple of years with an OT therapist who has spent time on social emotional with him. So at his age, the reason I know everybody can learn this stuff is because at his age, he can tell me how he's feeling. He may not be able to put all the words to it, but I'm excited or I'm nervous or anxiety or whatever. But he understands what's happening in his body. So we could just sit down and talk about it. So it doesn't get escalated, get out of control, or, then you're in timeout, or there's, a parent who may lose it, because it's very hard to deal with sometimes, right? But then a child learns. It's also a great awareness to sit down and talk to your kids socially, emotionally, what's happening for them. So they learn that it's the behavior or the action they took. It's not them. They're not bad. Right? They're not bad. They're not wrong. They might have just made a bad choice or a wrong choice. It's not the best for them in the situation.
Right.
So I think a lot of times when somebody has ADHD, it's very hard to tell what is that and what is anxiety. So like for your husband, when he starts to feel whatever he's feeling, and I know like with my kiddos, it's always like, okay, let's breathe in and let's breathe out for a minute. Let's just stop for just a minute. I felt this way earlier today because I'm trying to meet a deadline. And thinking about meeting this deadline and what I had to write, I could feel like this inside myself. And so even my daughter was like, take a break, just stop and take a break. So I walked around the house, I did some movement and everything for myself, and I walked away from it to help myself just calm back down, because just the thought of doing it, knowing I have this time it has to be done by, is creating stress for me. And I've been writing a long time, but it didn't matter, So the other thing we have to think about is that people who have ADHD, autism, things like that, they're very sensitive to those around them. So if somebody else around them is feeling this way, more than likely they'll pick up that feeling. They'll pick up whatever somebody else is going. It's like they can feel what someone else is going through, and they'll feel like it belongs to them. And it really does. So, that's where I talk with my kids and go, hey, does this feel like you going through this, or does it feel like somebody else's? Maybe somebody that was at school. Somebody you were on the phone with, maybe something you saw online. So we kind of talk through those things until we get to the root of what's actually happening. But, it's very good to have those options for kids that are art, any kind of music and art and athletics, any kind of physical movement, to be able to move that anxiety out, to be able to ground them, calm them back down. So they can process in a safe space. So processing through art is something one of my daughters has used her whole life. processing through writing. So if you have a child who can't talk very well, they're language delay, nonverbal, and so screaming is the way they communicate. That's what I've had with 2 of my children, screaming. And so providing those instruments for them to have that way to process can really diffuse a lot for a person. And even grown-ups can use these things, you know? I mean, like, why do you think people pick up painting and gardening and things like that? Because it
Right.
really helps to calm that nervous system back down. Now, a lot of times we have to take an action in order to calm it back down. It doesn't just calm down on its own.
Right.
Does
Yeah.
that answer? Is that?
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, that was like a wealth of knowledge. And our people that are in the room right now, I just want to stop and check in. So for those of you who have just joined or have been listening for a while, please chime in with any questions that you have. We are, yes, I will post it on YouTube. Yes, I will. It takes TikTok about maybe an hour for the video to be available. And as soon as it's available, I will get it posted. And all the other, well, not all of the lives that I've done are posted on YouTube, but some of them are, and some of them are also on my podcast, the Thought Snob podcast. So, but please feel free to chime in with any comments or questions. We kicked off with talking about the TikTok ban. And if you have any information about that or any questions, we can dig into that. And then Mary has been leading the conversation about helping kids transition smoothly from school to the holiday, from holiday and then going back to school with a special emphasis on ADHD. And I have been asking her a few questions about, I'm not ADHD, but my husband is diagnosed ADHD. And it's important for us to be aware of how the ADHD brain thinks and processes information, and that's what we've been talking about so far. And so I would love for you guys to interact with us if you choose. If you have any questions, we can stay on topic, we can get off topic, we can do whatever we want to do. Is it Salome? I hope I'm not mispronouncing that. How do you implement healthy boundaries with kids with ADHD?
That's a big question, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So the interesting thing, my mom has a psychology background. One of the interesting things my mother told me when my oldest were young was that children want to hear no. They need to hear no, even though they tell you they don't want to hear no, or they act like they don't want to hear no, because that sets up boundaries. And it doesn't mean it's the word you use all the time, but sometimes we do have to say, that's not okay to do that. Let's try something. Let's pivot and try something more positive. So as a parent, when you have a child where you're trying to set healthy boundaries, you got to think about, what do those healthy boundaries mean to you, first of all, right? Because what's right for you may be different for somebody else.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Depending on the kind of child that you have.
Mm-hmm.
So, for instance, you have a child who certain things may not bother them, but then you have another child who that same thing could really bother that child. Maybe they're very sensitive to it. Mm-hmm. So I think you first of all have to decide what are healthy boundaries for you in your family, in your life, and what you know is right for the child at the age they're at. Our world is so inundated with materials and videos and information that's so far beyond a child, mostly, that they get to see. Their brains aren't ready to process it. So we have to be on guard for that, to make sure that they don't see things that are beyond what they can really process. Mm-hmm. A child at 6 really shouldn't be watching shows that have murder and things in them, right? I mean, because unless they're more mature and can handle it, most children can't, right? And for them, it's real. They can't, they don't. And so, is my audio still on?
It's still on. It cut off for a second, but then it came right back on.
Got a call. Okay. So, I would say you're going to have to, okay, I love you. My my husband leaving back to work. You're going to have to set up your boundaries for what is appropriate for each child. X amount of time on the, have them, let's step back for a second. If you're wanting your child to do something and maybe they're resistant to it, let them work for that. Okay. Maybe it's time to do homework and they really don't want to do it. So let them have something they do want. Maybe it's a little bit of screen time, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Maybe it's out. Maybe it's time playing with their favorite toy. So then that's what I've always done with my son. Okay, so I'm going to give you 20 minutes doing this. And then it's time to go back to work, or it's time to do homework, or it's time to get ready for bed, or whatever those things are. That's a healthy boundary for them that sets up an expectation that they can meet. And if you have to put a timer on, put a timer on, right? And maybe even a timer they can see and use, because then they go, oh, okay, I've got 5 minutes left. So it helps them to start learning to be responsible for themselves and their actions, and not to go over, like to know that, it's okay for me to do this long. And then I need to stop and go back and do this. Does that help? I guess, should we ask her, is that something that helps?
Salam, you can chime in if you want to. I'm pretty sure she's still here.
Yeah, I can't see the comments, so.
That was a great question with yes, she says yes, that helps. She said thank you so much. So you can't see the comments?
No, they're not scrolling up. Oh, well, maybe they're, no. Well, yeah, maybe now they're scrolling. I don't know. They weren't scrolling for a little bit, but yeah, I mean, there's also things that you could make a chart with your child, that includes things that you see as fair for them. And what do they see as fair? And so you can start to help them to grow up a little bit that way, in the sense of looking at what's more responsible and healthier for them. And my house is filled with, we're a sensory home. Okay. We're all sensory beings, right? You and I've talked about this before. We take in the world through, we talk about the first 5, but 9 different senses, and research scientists say there's like 33, but we don't talk about all those. But so I always have, my house is filled with things that are available for my children or me or my husband if we ever needed it to calm down, relax. I used to have a trampoline in my house for my son, because when he was way overstimulated, he could get on the trampoline and jump instead of the sofa, because he liked the sofa. I was like, no, we can't do that, because you fall off and hurt yourself, right? So we switched to a trampoline that just it stayed in our living room forever and ever and ever. But also things out like Play-Doh and Legos and all the squishy stuff and the poppers. And I mean, you can find this stuff anywhere these days, right? But having a box or a kit or a section or an area, or like a sensory space in the corner that's got comfortable seating, maybe it's got low lighting, maybe it's got some music going. You can find so much on Amazon to buy to fill these spaces up. And let a child go when they are overstimulated or whatever. Let them go sit there. Like your husband, you could create an environment for him where, when his ADHD brain is like, blah, 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 hey babe, why don't you go take a little break over here? Mm-hmm. And that can help kind of ground him. If you can visualize this, when we get overstimulated, it's almost like we leave our body, right? Mm-hmm. And we need something to pull us back down into our body, so we can be calm, make good decisions, we can listen, we can talk, do whatever it is required of us to self-regulate. So we got to have tools for all that.
Thank you, Nicole. I appreciate that.
Yeah, she loves your hair. I do too. It's beautiful.
Thank you. It's manufactured. I had the sewn in extensions put in like 6 weeks ago, because between menopause and COVID, like my hair took a hit. Like my hair just did not look the same. Like when my body stopped making estrogen, my hair, it thinned. It was so dry. The color of it changed. And so I got sick of fooling with it because I couldn't do anything with it.
Right.
So I got the sewn in extensions, and it took about a month to get used to them, but I'm loving them now. It's just they're a little bit of a pain in the butt to maintain because the hair appointments, I go for my first maintenance appointment on these things on December the 21st. It's like a 5 hour hair appointment.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
All
it's
right.
yeah, it's crazy. But they kind of they save time in the long run because you can fix your hair on a Monday and not really have to do much to it otherwise until you wash it again. It just
Right.
kind of stays the way that it's supposed to because these extensions are real hair, but they're like chemically treated to behave the right way, unlike my real hair. So
So
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, so
Cool.
I'm digging the extensions, and um, so thank you for that compliment. And I wanted to say so many things that you just talked about really resonated with me. Although I don't have ADHD, but just in case that someone is listening and they do this too, what I'm about to talk about.
Mhm.
I have a lot of strategies for managing feeling overstimulated and overwhelmed. I'm a person who hates to rush,
Mhm.
and if I have to rush, I get very irritated. And we all have the fight, flight, freeze response,
Right.
and I freeze. And like if I'm punching, like you're talking about your deadline,
Mhm.
like if I got to say I got to be somewhere at 6 o'clock, and I'm really obsessed with time. If I'm ever late to anything, something's terribly wrong, kind of thing. Like I'd rather be early than late. I hate to be late.
Mhm.
So I'm obsessed with time. And I'm always watching the time. So if I got to be somewhere at 6 o'clock and I'm running behind and I've got to take care of 5 things before I can get out the door or whatever the situation may be that causes me to rush, I get so like discombobulated, and that's not who I am. I'm a person that doesn't have a lot of trouble focusing or staying on task. But when I get overwhelmed like that, I will freeze. And it's like I'm moving at a snail's pace to get things done. And I will even have to talk my way through it. Like,
Mhm.
okay, I'm doing this, and then I'm going to do that. And I'm very mindful and aware of when it happens. And when it happens, I just kind of let it ride, and I talk my way through it, and then I kind of get back to normal. I get out of that freeze mode. Um, yes, I do wear extensions. They are the sewn-in extensions, and I just talked all about my hair,
Yes,
but
and somebody said, and she said, "You're amazing, Paula." She is. You
thank
are
you,
amazing.
thank
And
you,
what
thank you
you're
so much.
talking about is externally processing, and then you have been able to learn how to self-regulate. When you go back to what you call normal, that's called self-regulation. So you're able to. So you've learned coping techniques for yourself.
A lot, and the meditation. I'm a devoted meditator. I meditate every single day, at least once, usually twice.
Mhm.
I do a lot of breath work. Breath work is a game changer,
Mm.
and it is empirically shown to help with PTSD, ADHD, anxiety. Breath work can be, in my opinion, more effective for people with ADHD because they don't have to focus on trying to meditate. That's where, my husband, he's trained in transcendental meditation. I trained him in primordial sound meditation. He won't do the meditation because he just cannot sit down and get like focused enough to meditate. He starts to really overthink it. And meditation is something that should be effortless. The moment that you start overthinking it, then you're defeating the purpose. but he
Right.
loves breath work. Loves breath work. Will he do it on his own? No. I have to go to him and say, you want to do some breath work? And he'll do it because I'm trained in it and can, guide him through it. But
Right.
breath work is something that it's almost like a sustainable way of of managing your emotions. It keeps you in a proactive state versus a reactive state.
Right. Right.
And it's incredible because and our breath can actually change our mind at any moment, and we always have it. Some says, but what if it feels what if but
mm,
what if what feels normal is destructive and what feels unnatural are things that are good? So I'm not sure I understand. Tell me if I'm right here, Salome. So I grew up around a lot of alcoholism. Just tell me if this is what you're referring to. And so alcoholism, binge drinking felt normal to me, but it was terribly destructive. But it felt normal. Is that what you mean? Oh, I'm sorry. How do you change your normal? How do you get to change? How do you change your normal? If I'm understanding you
yes.
correctly.
She's saying yes to your explanation, your
Okay,
example you gave. She's saying yes. So that's a really good question because
it is.
I think especially when you come from alcoholism, my father was as well. When you come from people who are destructive or abusive or passive aggressive or manipulative, maybe you're raised by a narcissist, right?
That's your
So that's
norm.
really hard for us to figure out what is normal for us. So I think part of that you have to start to tune into your body, and we do have to do some retraining for ourselves, right? That's where, yeah, awareness comes in. So I think doing those things like breathing that you're talking about, meditation, praying if that's something that you do, and asking for those signs in your life to let you know what is normal and healthy for you. And your body is also a barometer for that kind of stuff.
It is.
Does it make you
It
feel good? Even if I think if you've been in a very unhealthy relationship or in a home life that's unhealthy, you can still get out. I
oh
mean,
yeah.
and I will tell you something. I'm ghostwriting. I am working on a ghostwriting project with somebody, and this woman, her grandmother, her mother were sexually abused. She was drug and alcohol abuse. She was prostitution, all kinds of stuff. And she turned her life over to Christ. This is what happened for her. And now she's traveling around the country, the US, and she's doing missionary, ministry work, like helping others, sharing her story of how she overcame all that. And that's a big extreme, but what it shows us is that it's doable.
It's
It's
doable.
to go from, if you were a person who thought prostitution was all you knew and that that's what you thought was your normal, you can always decide and go from a place from that to that's not your normal. Like it doesn't make there's always got to be there's always that intuition, gut feeling inside of us that says this is not okay for me.
That's exactly right. And she's asking, how do you change? What is your baseline normal? And I saw that question. I'm thinking, seriously, like my entire book is a guide, seriously, to changing your baseline normal. And the way that I did it, like awareness is the foundation for all change. First, I had to become aware that what I was living in wasn't freaking normal.
Yeah.
And then I had to figure out, okay, what am I going to do about it? And then I started really learning about why my behaviors were the way they were. And it was because of my subconscious beliefs. I had to literally rewire my brain and reprogram my subconscious beliefs. And I did that. One of the first things I did was through envisioning. And if anybody thinks that envisioning doesn't work, I'm here to tell you that it does. It is backed by science. I changed my whole life envisioning what I wanted. Brain studies reveal that thoughts produce the exact same mental instructions as actions. So if you don't have, I say this all the time, if you don't have any money, any resources, any support, any knowledge whatsoever about how to change your circumstances and change your baseline normal, take it up here and spend some time every single day envisioning what you want. 15 minutes a day will make a huge difference. And if you don't feel comfortable doing it on your own, I've got tons of guided visualizations that you can use. They're free. I'm not trying to sell you anything. They're on my website at paulaswope.com. They're on my YouTube channel. All those links are on my link tree here on my profile. Those guided visualizations are powerful. They're powerful.
They are very powerful.
They are. And it's the same as taking action. If you don't know what to do, start envisioning what you want. Start envisioning how you want a situation to pan out. Start envisioning how you want your relationships to go. Start using your mind's eye to see what you want your checking account balance to be. Just start there. And the more momentum that you build around it, the more likely it's going to happen. And the more excited you feel about it, the more likely it's going to happen. So it's the same as taking action. In my opinion, it's actually more effective than working really, really hard to change something. Just take it up here. And that's how I did it. That's how I rewired my brain and changed my subconscious beliefs, because our subconscious beliefs control like 90-something% of our behaviors. And if we're not aware of that, then we're just going around self-destructing all the time and creating this life that just sucks if we don't understand what we're doing. So you gotta break those patterns, and that's how I did it. There's a lot more to it than that, but that's how I got started. And I have to say this too on the baseline normal thing. That is such a great question. People sometimes think that positive affirmations are cheesy. They actually serve a great purpose, because the subconscious mind believes whatever you tell it. And so if you can tell your subconscious mind something terrible and it believes it, then you can tell it something great and it's going to believe it. And even if you don't believe what you're saying, just start telling your subconscious a new story and just see what happens. It works.
Yeah, also, so just so you know, she and everyone else understand, it is also baby steps. It doesn't happen overnight. And it's something.
Oh God, no.
It's like learning to ride a bicycle. Like if you were riding a bike the wrong way, so you're going backwards, you got to learn how to pedal forward so you go forward. And it's about, there's a trust factor that goes along with this. And it's learning how to trust what you're feeling is your truth, not anybody else's truth, and not the truth of maybe what you grew up in. You know, somebody's telling you your truth. So that's where getting very quiet and listening to what is ask those questions and wait to see what the answers are. Another thing that is very helpful is writing out what's happening for you. Like I did this exercise with my daughter. She was having terrible anxiety. So what did she do? She wrote down all the anxiety feelings that she had, everything, right? And then beside it, she wrote what the truth was. And so it helped her to finally, and she can say, yes, she's right over here. It helped her to finally get herself out of this. She was on a wheel, you know, like a little mouse wheel. She was in a trap. And that was something that's very helpful, wasn't it, Lily? Well, writing down your anxiety, and then beside it, writing what the truth was.
Yes.
And she's saying yes.
Well, that's what she did. So we all have meaning making algorithms that come from how we're, subconsciously programmed over our entire lifetime. And what Lily did was she made a new meaning out of her situation, which was true. It's
Mhm.
like all these things that we think, if we really stop and ask ourselves, is that true what I'm thinking? It's usually not.
Or am I just, okay, am I overthinking this? Am I overanalyzing? Am I afraid? Am I afraid because this has happened before? I don't know. Is it a trust thing? So it really is about analyzing and picking it all apart to sort of
Hmm.
find what's in the middle there that's the
Yeah.
truth for you, right? What's in the
Hmm.
middle? So I hope that helps her, some that's on here. So.
Yeah. Me too. Me too. Does anybody else have any questions or anything to add? Oh, we're at 444 on our likes.
Oh, all right. Are we? That's a great number. We like 444.
Yeah, it's our a great angel number.
Yeah, it is a great angel number. It's
Uh-huh.
wonderful. We love that.
And
So,
I have to point out that I really don't know what is going on with TikTok, but a lot of creators have been talking about it and complaining about it. And I'm not complaining about it. I'm just a little curious. Usually, my lives, I mean, there are thousands and thousands of likes and hundreds to thousands of people, in the audience. And that has taken a dip in the past month. I don't know what is going on with the algorithm and TikTok. I have no idea.
I don't either, but I'll tell you what's happening to me. And it happened when I was putting your episode out too. So I used StreamYard to record my radio show, the interview you were on with me 2 weeks ago, that went out 2 weeks ago. And
Mm-hmm.
you can go into StreamYard. StreamYard is a great platform. I don't like that they're charging the price they are now with the new ownership, but I still love the platform. And you go in, and I'm not the only one who feels this way, but you can do a 60-second clip, 30 seconds, 60 seconds of the video, interview. And then I use that on TikTok and Instagram and to put it out for advertising. Well, normally you go in and you do the editing and pick your part and everything, and then it'll ask you where you want it to publish it for you. And normally I'll pick LinkedIn and TikTok. In the last 2 weeks, it will not publish to TikTok anymore.
Really?
Yes, I was just on a conversation yesterday with a friend of mine. We've been producing shows for 6 years together, over 6 years. And I was like, I said, is this happening to you right now? And she doesn't live in the country here. So I don't know if it's just here in the US this is happening, but then I had to go in manually and save it. And then for me to then go and upload it manually on TikTok. So
Something is strange.
yeah, something's happening. And, we're just, I mean, it's like, wow, I mean, all of y'all who have ginormous platforms, this is not good.
Mm-mm. Yeah, and just the way that I am, I haven't worried about it for a second. It's like if it gets banned, it gets banned, and I'll just move my show to Instagram and focus there, or focus someplace else. More than likely, it will be Instagram. But something funky is definitely going on with TikTok, and TikTok is hands down my favorite platform. It is. It's my favorite platform. I love how it operates. I love everything about it. The editing options and TikTok Shop and the whole format of TikTok. I love it, and I get a lot of information from TikTok. I don't watch the news. I don't do that at all. But get a lot of information about brain health and nutrition and menopause. And there's so many great content creators on TikTok that are legit. And I just really don't understand why this would be the focus of a ban. Because I have not had
hardly any negative experiences with TikTok. I can't say the same about Facebook. Facebook has been crazy. The people are ridiculous, can be ridiculous on there. It's like everybody is so hateful and wanting to fight on Facebook. That's why I don't mess with it much.
Right.
And I just have not experienced that with TikTok. But I just had to, you know, point that out because something is definitely strange.
But the ban is more about the owners of the
Yes.
company that owns it. I saw, I mean, I know that it's like, that's why the United States is like, if you don't change ownership or sell it, then we're going to ban you.
Right.
And it's just like, you know, my girlfriend who we've been doing shows together forever, that's in South Africa, she says, you know, the company is here in the United States. So all this talk is, I don't know. Anyways,
I don't either.
we just hope that,
I don't either.
you know, and somebody else will create some other platform, I'm sure.
Right. I just don't see it going away. I think we'll just be accessing it differently. And in the last few minutes that we've got like 5 minutes. And if anybody has any questions, please chime in, and we'll be happy to talk about those. But until somebody has a question, I want to talk about just for a second, I want to point something out about the new Jamie Foxx special on Netflix that aired yesterday.
Yeah.
It was so ironic. May have even been synchronicity. So my monthly newsletter went out yesterday, and the focus of it was how to get messages from God, because God is always sending us messages, but a lot of people don't get those messages because they don't know what to look for, or they aren't listening, or they're just in too much noise all the time, and there's the messages are just not coming through. And so I talked about how to get those messages from God, how to recognize it, how it works, and all of that in my newsletter. Jamie Foxx, his whole special is based on that.
Really?
I was not expecting what I saw in that special.
I would not expect that from him either. That's amazing.
You won't believe it. You won't believe it. It was the most spiritual, emotional show that I have seen in a long time. I bawled 2 or 3 times.
Wow.
He killed me. He killed me. So he had a really, really bad episode with his health. He had a stroke. That's what happened to him. He was like out of the scene forever, and some people thought that he had passed and all kinds of stuff. There were rumors flying around. Diddy had killed him and all kinds of crazy stuff the internet was saying. And so he cleared the air last night with a Netflix special, and he told the story. Well, he had a stroke. He was in Atlanta. He had a stroke. They couldn't figure out what was going on with him. He bad headache come on, and he blacked out and woke up, I think 20 days later or something, and had no recollection of what had happened. He was in a wheelchair and he was paralyzed.
Jeez.
Yeah. And he talks about, and he's okay now. He's recovered. He's walking. He's up. He's back to normal. But it took him, I think he said, a full year to recover. And he said it was the absolute worst year of his life. But he started getting these messages from God, and it was just really something to listen to.
Wow.
And they put him in this rehabilitation facility.
Mm-hmm.
And he was not a good patient in the beginning. Like, he was resisting the help, and his ego was really coming in and taking over, and he was in woe is me mode. And of course, it was hilarious to hear him tell the story, but he kept breaking down and crying. And it was just the most raw, authentic thing that I've seen from someone like him in a stand-up comedy bit, okay? But he said that he figured out that if he could stay funny, he could stay alive. And that his sense of humor was intact.
Okay.
And so he used that to heal. And he talked about how he realized that God had given him that creativity and that talent and that sense of humor, and that he needed to use that.
Yeah.
That's what he did, and it got him through the healing process. It was an incredible freaking story.
Wow. I'll have to go watch it. That's amazing. That's
It's
very,
really something.
very inspiring.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And you were
I
talking earlier about, your household being a sensory household, and how, you can heal through the five senses. And he said that, and of course I'm an Ayurveda specialist, so I live and breathe this.
yeah.
And healing through sound is a real thing. It's backed by science. You can absolutely heal through sound. He said that when he was in the hospital in the beginning stages of this, that his vitals were so off the chain that the doctors were saying, we're going to lose him. If we don't get his vitals down, we're going to lose him. We're going to lose him. And he said that his 14-year-old daughter, he didn't want her in the room because he didn't want her to see him in that condition. But
Right.
she snuck into the room with her guitar, and she started playing her guitar, and his vitals went down.
Oh, nice, nice. Love it. That's beautiful.
And the doctors were just in bewildered awe. And of course, as I'm watching it, I'm like, healing through sound. These doctors don't know.
I know, right? They should know. They should know. Come on, right?
Too. It's like, I'm all about, doctors can be miracle workers, and I'm all about westernized medicine. All about it. It saves people's lives, and I will continue to take it when I need it. But combine the two, and I think you've got like the magic potion for healing, preventative, all of that.
Amen. That
Yeah.
is right.
And so TikTok's giving me my little heads
Yeah.
up.
And I've got to run because I got to go pick up my little man.
Well, our hour's up, and well, thank you so much, Mary, for joining me. I've loved it, and you have given everybody such great information. Thank you so much, and thank you to Lily for chiming in there.
I know, yeah.
Yeah.
She's waiting.
Lily.
All right. Thank you, Paula, so much. Thank you for all your information and your guidance. And go out and get Paula's book. And you know what? I'm gonna borrow your marketing tool for my kids' book. I'm gonna do that. So
We'll see if it works.
I know.
We'll see if my Christmas giveaway works.
All right.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
All right.
All
Love
right,
you, later. Bye.
Talk soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I sure do appreciate it. And I will see you next Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm having my top 2 wisdom teeth extracted in the morning, and so wish me luck on that. Hopefully it runs smoothly, but I will be taking a couple of days off to heal from that. But as soon as this video is available through TikTok, I will put it on my YouTube channel. Please check out my links in my link tree here on my profile. Oh, thank you, Lori. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Please check out the resources in my link tree. There's tons of stuff there that I have created for you. Most of it's free. Okay. So anyway, I'm going to hop off. It was wonderful being with you today, and I will see you soon.